So, I've been thinking about something a lot recently, and I think it has to do with some conversations I've been having with some friends about like some past relationships they've had or that I've had. And I think what I'm going to be talking about might, be a little controversial to what people like to think about the world and like to think about other people, but I do truly think that, you know, people are not good. People don't like they might want to be good, but they just aren't. It's just not who they are. Like people might have good intentions and want to do the right thing, but just because of who we are as people, like it's just going to turn out bad almost all the time. And there's really not many exceptions to that. Like people can want to be a good partner to their significant other, but because of their human nature, they're typically not going to do a good job of that. Um, like that people will just typically manipulate and lie and kind of do whatever they have to do to get the outcome that they want, and that usually doesn't go well. They might not even think that they're manipulating you, but they are because they want you to behave in a certain way, which is fine because it makes sense. It makes sense for you to want your significant other to behave in a way that you actually like being around them for. Like you don't want to be around someone who's rude and annoying. You will try and change them to be someone that you actually want to be with. And this is not like specific only to romantic relationships. This is all relationships, literally all relationships. If you have a friend that's doing something that you don't like, you're going to want to change their behavior. It makes perfect sense. It makes total sense. And in relationships, this is just one example of someone that I was with for a little while. If she was mad at me, she would try and manipulate me into behaving a certain way without actually showing me that she was mad directly. It was more of like a passive way of being mad. So if she was mad at me, she would, she would tell me like good night at like 8 o'clock, something ridiculous. Like, yeah, she's definitely not actually going to sleep at 8 o'clock, but she's trying to send me a signal that she's mad at me without actually saying she's mad at me and having like a discussion about why she's mad. It was more just like, I'm gonna be passive aggressive, and if he doesn't get why I'm mad, then it's his fault. And I personally think this is a stupid thing to do, and logically it sounds really dumb. And I think if you confronted her about doing it, she would also be like, nah, why would I do something like that? If I have a problem with you, I'll just say it. But in reality and in practice, it doesn't always work out that way. People typically will say that they'll do one thing, but in practice, they'll do another. Like it can sound really great in your head what you would do, but when you're actually put in that situation and then you get emotions involved and all that, it could change very quickly. And I did confront her about it, and sure enough, she'd be like, "I know I'm being ridiculous and it's stupid, but I just wanted you to understand how I was feeling." Like whatever it had to be, but it's just how people are. They'll manipulate you, and manipulate sounds like an evil word. It sounds bad, but pretty much anything you do is subtle manipulation in reality. Like, um, yeah, I don't know. It just anything you do to try and change someone else is technically manipulation. Technically, it's not necessarily a bad manipulation. It could be, could very well be a very bad manipulation, like abusing someone's good nature to do what you want is, as I think would be universally considered a bad way to manipulate someone because you're taking advantage of them. And that's kind of the point I want to get to is people will abuse and use you if you let them. If you let them do it. Like, people will take advantage of your good nature if you let them. So, uh, I guess the example I would give is in relationships, I really hate hurting someone's feelings, and if I get in an argument with my significant other, I will feel awful about it because I hurt their feelings, that type of thing. And if they just tell me that they'll be upset if I do something, then I won't do it because I don't want them to feel bad. I've learned more recently that you can't let this happen. Like you can't live your life that way because it will ruin you. Like it will literally just destroy you. So what would happen is I would want to go out with my friends, and then my ex would be like, "Hey, um, I don't really want to go, and if you go, I'll be kind of upset because I want if I'm not going, I don't want you to go, like that type of thing. And if you go, I'm not going to be happy." She wouldn't necessarily say that, but you knew that's what she was saying, type of thing. And because of who I am, I would just kind of be like, yeah, okay, fine, I won't go. And then over time, one time that wouldn't be so bad, but over time that adds up, and eventually you're now alienated from your friends. You haven't hung out with them for a while. All you're doing is spending time with your girlfriend or whatever, and you start to realize like she's cut me off from all of my friends, and I don't even think she knew that she was doing it. Like she kind of knows that she wants you around all the time, but she doesn't know that she's actually suffocating you by cutting you off from your friends. That wasn't her intention, but that's what happened. She might have like her best interest in mind. She might be thinking about herself and being like, yeah, I want him around, so I'm going to keep him around. I'm going to take advantage of his good nature, and I'm going to be like, he won't go if I don't want him to, so I'm going to tell him I don't want him to. And like I said, she's not intentionally manipulating me. I guess she kind of is intentionally manipulating me, but her intention isn't to alienate me from my friends. That's just a side effect of her decision. If that makes sense, I guess. Yeah, like she's not intentionally making me stop seeing my friends. It's just part of what's happening through her wanting me to stay with her all the time. And you can't do that. You can't live like that. Maybe some people can. I certainly couldn't, and that's why I got like so depressed and stuff like that. And like I said, they'll only be able to get away with something like that if you let them. If you let them decide what you do and where you go, who you hang out with, that's when they'll take advantage of you. And the same thing goes for scam artists. This is what scam artists rely on. They rely on you wanting to be a nice, good person. So there's multiple scams where they'll try and take advantage of your good nature. And that's just, it's a good way of getting people to fall for a scam. It really is. Like, I can't think of one off the top of my head. It's late. I'm dying over here, but just something I feel like I needed to talk about is just if you notice in your own life that you're in some kind of toxic relationship where someone's taking advantage of you, I cannot stress enough, it's time to get out of it. Like you gotta focus on you for a little while. Like I get you don't want to be selfish. I get you want to make other people happy, because I'm the same as you on this one. Like you don't want other people to be unhappy to be around you, so you'll do everything you can to make them happy. And that's not good. It's not good for you. Sometimes it's okay to be really selfish and focus on yourself. Sometimes you have to, otherwise you're going to be in an unhappy relationship for forever. You don't want to marry this type of person. They'll really cut you off from your family, from your friends. You won't be able to see anyone. You'll just be with them all the time. It doesn't even have to be like this specific incident. Like it doesn't have to be, them cutting you off from your friends. It could be anything. Another example, I guess, would be like in the worker and boss relationship type of situation. I was working at this company that I won't name because, I don't think that this boss in particular reflects the entire company, but what I found was that the boss would pressure me into staying later with like subtle, hints. It's like, if you stay later and you work hard, you might get a raise, you might get a promotion. Just keep putting in hours, keep working hard, and you'll get a promotion. Well, me being who I am, I like to work hard and, get things done. So I was like, yeah, I mean, the work is here. It has to get done. I'll stay late without extra pay, without a bonus, stuff like that, just to get it done, even though my pay didn't reflect how much work I actually did get done. It didn't matter. I was getting, paid by the hour, not paid by the hour, I was on salary. So it didn't matter how long I stayed. I was still getting paid the same amount. Anyway. The boss kept doing this, and he knew that I was this type of person. He knew I was competitive, and he knew that I wanted to work hard and get things done. So he would pin me up against like a coworker, and he would like lie about what the coworker was doing. He's like, "Hey man, he over there, he did a lot today. you got to catch up. Like, you got to stay later to catch up and do as much as he did, blah, blah, blah. And um, you know, me being the stupid me, I didn't even question. I was like, yeah, I'll work as hard as him. I'll work harder, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, it turned out that, you know, the coworker, you know, wasn't really doing much of anything. You know, he was just basically putting us up against each other without actually any reward for doing more work. It was just his way of getting more work out of us. And he was just manipulating us. It's just a thing that people do. People aren't good. And that's one of the cases where he actually knew he was manipulating us, and he was doing it to his own advantage, because I guess he got paid for how much work we did, which is, you know, fine. That's kind of how capitalism works, I guess. You just make money off of other people's work. But yeah, I don't know. I really do think that people typically aren't good. They'll lie, they'll cheat, they'll steal, they'll manipulate until they get what they want. Like I said, not everyone. And again, a lot of people don't do it on purpose. A lot of people really might love you a lot and really might want what's best for you, but what's really best for you and what they think is best for you might not be the same thing. And that's where the danger comes in. That's where the danger comes in. You know, I know friends who have like overbearing parents who might think they know what's best for their kid, might think that, you know, they're gonna make you go to school and make you be a doctor or whatever like that. And maybe the kid doesn't want to be a doctor, but they're gonna keep manipulating their kid with, like, you know, financial things. Be like, I mean, we're not gonna pay for your school if you don't go to be a doctor. Like, we won't let you do this other thing that you really are passionate about. That type of thing. Like, everyone's manipulating people to do what they want, and this is one of the reasons why I'll say I never want to take money from people, because once someone gives you money or gives you something, they now have almost like a stock in your life. Like, and if you don't know how that works, like if you have a stock in a business, you have a say, you have a vote for what they do. And what, yeah, anyway, like besides that, like, the more stock you have in someone's life, the more of a say you have in it. So every time they give you money, or every time they support you in something, they almost have like a say in what you do. And it can be tough. It can be tough to break away from that type of relationship, because you know you rely on them financially. Like, I had this one girl who she had a horrible relationship with her dad, and she hated her dad, but she always had to call him, you know, every couple days, and keep, you know, acting like she liked him and like talking to him, because he was paying for her college. So if she stopped talking to him, she knew that he would stop paying. And that's why she stayed in this awful relationship with her dad. And I was like, you got to stop. But, you know, it's hard to tell someone that they have to stop, because would you stop if you were in that situation? You know, paying for college is expensive. Would it be better for you to, you know, maybe keep up that toxic relationship? And maybe I think a lot of people might do this with marriage. You know, they're in a bad relationship, but, you know, it might just be better for them to stay in it for one reason or another. Maybe they can't support themselves financially because, you know, they just don't have as good of a job as their significant other. Or maybe, I don't know, that it just sounds like things are complicated in relationships. And every time someone does something for you, they expect something. It's just kind of how it is. It's rough. It's weird. It's definitely weird. You see it all the time. Like, any example that you pick of any relationship of any kind, there is always manipulation happening. Always. I can't think of a single one where manipulation doesn't occur. If you can, please, like, please prove me wrong on this, because I would love to be wrong. This is something I really, really wish I was wrong about, because it really bothers me. There is no unconditional relationships. There isn't. Between humans, there is no unconditional relationships. I guess you can kind of say that maybe a mother has an unconditional relationship with her baby. Maybe. But over time, that's not going to be the case anymore. Like, over time, she'll raise the kid, and then maybe one will be manipulating the other. Who knows? But at first, I guess you can make that argument. Sure. I don't know. This is just something I've been thinking about a lot, and it's rough. I guess I've been thinking about it a lot because, like, just last night I was talking to someone about a lot of, you know, my past relationships and their past relationships, and it just kind of got me thinking, like, how much I personally have been taken advantage of in relationships, and how I needed to change to protect myself from that type of relationship again. It's hard. It really is hard because you wish things were better. You wish that both people in a relationship would just want what's best for the other, and also take the other person into consideration when making that decision. You know, when making the decision of what is actually better for the other person, they would actually ask the person at the same time. It's that type of thing. Uh, yeah, it's weird. It's definitely a weird thing. Manipulation is strong. It's very strong, especially when you're with someone who actually cares about you. Because it's like I don't want to sound like I'm the perfect person in relationships here, because I'm definitely not, and I have done my fair share of manipulating. I have to say that I wasn't conscious about my manipulation, and like I said, most people aren't, but you still will manipulate in ways. You still will. I definitely have done it in the past, and it usually takes a lot of self-reflection, a lot of looking back to realize that. It's weird. And sometimes you have to realize that you're not the good guy in your story. I think that's a big problem. Like whenever you hear someone talk about a breakup, they're never the bad guy in the breakup. I always rag on people for this. They always are the good guy in their story. Nobody's ever the bad guy in a breakup situation. They're never at all at any fault at all, and why they broke up, or why the person was depressed in the relationship. Oh, they were depressed because they were insecure. They were insecure about something. It's like, well, why were they insecure about it? Were you putting pressure on them about something? Maybe. Like maybe they weren't living up to your high expectations and that made them, depressed. Maybe. It's possible. Just you have to think about a lot of different factors. Like I know that I became deeply, deeply depressed in one relationship because I felt like I was being changed. Like they were trying to change who I was and my goals, and they were trying to change my goals into what they wanted for me rather than what I wanted. And it gave me like a deep depression because I knew what I wanted and I knew what they wanted me to want. And it wasn't working. Like the whole relationship wasn't working, and I don't know. I don't want to get like into too many dirty details of it, but it was more or less just me fighting against them about what I should be doing with my life, and then them also actively sabotaging what I wanted to do so that I would fail and then do what they wanted me to do. And it was one of the most toxic relationships I've ever been in, and I'll never do that again. But I guess my personality is to always try and make something work, even if I know it's not going well. Like it's just kind of who I am, and maybe some of you guys are like that. Like you'll always try really hard to get something to work, even when you know it's not quite the best thing for you. And it's tough. It's definitely tough, especially that specific case. I don't like talking about depression and how low you can actually get to the point where you might actually do something with your depression, like do something about it. And if you've ever had depression, you kind of know what I mean. Like you're too depressed to fix it, and it's really hard to get out of that route or that rut, whatever you want to call it. Like it's hard to break free from being so depressed that you're too depressed to even get out of bed and try and fix your situation, but you also know that you really need to, and because you know you need to and you're not, you actually get more depressed, and it's awful. It gets to the point where that's where people start considering like suicide, and suicide is so weird. Suicide in particular is weird because, and self-harm, self-harm is so weird because if you're not in a place where you would do it yourself, it doesn't make sense. You're like looking at it from the outside, you're like, why would you cut yourself? Why would you hurt yourself? That's stupid. Why would you kill yourself? That's stupid. It doesn't make any sense until you feel like you should, until you're there. Then you're like, even in your own mind, you're like, yeah, this doesn't make any sense, but I still feel the need to do it. And maybe it's like a cry for help. Maybe it is. I think that has a lot to do with it. Maybe it is to get some attention because you have so much trouble communicating the pain that you're in that you just, it's such a dirty situation. I'm telling you, like, I don't want to make it about me, because this is absolutely not about me. I know many people who struggle with this far, far more than I have ever in my life. But someone I talked to in college one time, um, she had awful cuts all up and down her legs, and I was one of the only people to see it. And I asked him, like, I'm like, why? What drives you into doing something like that to yourself that will never be removed? That's on you forever. Those scars are there forever. Why? Why would you, like, why? It doesn't make sense to my mind. And her only response is kind of just like, I did it because I needed something. I needed to do something and I didn't know what. I needed to communicate to other people that I was in pain and I didn't know how to say it. I didn't know how to approach people about it. I was scared of what they might say. And this is what I did to spread the message. And um, like I said, I was one of the only people that she ever talked to about it, but she's right. Because of the cuts that she had on her body, it got me to ask her what the problem was instead of her having to approach me. And I hate that that's what people have to do because they're just too scared to talk to someone about something as serious as self-harm and suicide. But yeah, it's a rough one, guys. It's scary. I mean, like, I don't want to talk, like I said, about personal situations again, but I think it's just something I have to do because it's easier for me to communicate how I think compared to talking to other people. So, like, being in a point where you might kill yourself it's weird. It's weird. It's something that you can't logically make happen in your mind, but you're just in so much pain and you feel so stuck that you feel like the only escape is just to end it. It's just to end it. And it's you know in your mind that it's not what you really want for yourself. You would really want things to get better. It's like the only way I can describe it is like you know that you want things to get better, but you feel so powerless to make them better that you just feel like the only way out is through that. Like, yeah, I don't know. Oof. Oh man, it's a tough one. This is a tough one, guys. I can't talk about it. It's so rough. It's literally like I just don't know. I don't know how to like express it properly where it's actually like it's so frustrating for me because I try and like learn how to communicate properly about how I actually feel, and this is such a big deal. But the thing is this is probably more complex than anything. Most emotions that people feel is depression and suicide. And oh fuck, sorry. Just oh my gosh, I just have so many stories about suicide and people that I know, very close people that I know that have killed themselves, and it's definitely not something you want to live with when it's someone that you know well and they end up dying, and you think that maybe like you could have talked to them about it, but you didn't know that they were on that level where they might actually do something like that. You don't know what kind of pains they were going through. It's like, man, oof, just anyone that you talk to, if they had a close friend that's done it, like, oh my Jesus, man, I can't keep doing this. I don't even know why I'm talking to this. If you or anyone that you know has ever had a friend that has done something like this, or sibling, I don't know, whatever it is, you know how hard it is to even think about. Because all you're thinking in your mind is probably like, what could I have done to prevent this? What could I have said? I did not expect to talk about this. I don't even know how I'm on this topic right now. It's not what I wanted, but it's what it... I'm sorry. I can't do this. if you guys know any of your friends who've had a friend, you know, maybe you yourself, I don't know, anything. If you know someone close to you that's done it, then you gotta talk to someone. You gotta talk to someone. Take it from me, someone who doesn't talk to anyone about this stuff. The guy who's literally talking to a camera because he can't, or a mic, whatever. It's just impossible. It's impossible to bring up in a normal conversation, but you gotta do it. You gotta talk to someone. Whether it's me, just message me. I don't care, whatever you gotta do to talk about something as serious as this. Like, you gotta, if you yourself are struggling with maybe thinking about killing yourself, you gotta talk to someone. Just do not do anything, please, until you talk to someone about it. And if you have no one to talk to, I'm sure I'll talk to you. I promise I'll talk to you. Like, anyone. It's ridiculous to think that nobody cares about you, that you would think that it's just fine for you to die and nobody would mind. It's ridiculous. I guarantee you there are people out there that care, or people that will care if you tell them. They will care. Whether or not you think they do or not, doesn't matter, they will care. Oh, jeez. Man, if you guys ever met me in person, you'd know I would never talk about something like this. This is ridiculous. I can't. And late night, 3 in the morning. This is the stuff that keeps me up at night, guys. This is it. If you ever meet someone, this is just something else. If you ever meet someone that has irregularities, like irregular lifestyle, you might want to start asking them questions. And I don't want you to like confront them and be like, "Oh, what's wrong with you?" Because that'll lock them up real quick. Trust me, it will. But you gotta, I don't know, you gotta find a way to get them talking. Ask them just questions after questions. Just, you know, if you're not close to them, become close to them first, or else they won't talk to you. But you gotta figure out a way to break through their shell. You talk to them about how they're feeling and how they're really feeling. And I'll use this example because it's someone that I knew in college, and I was going through a real tough time. And when I say really tough time, I mean like I had lost 20 pounds because I couldn't eat and I couldn't sleep. And he noticed, and it wasn't even someone I was like super close to, but I knew and I had talked to a couple times. He was someone in my class, and you know, we hung out a couple times. But he noticed that I was losing a lot of weight and that I just didn't look good. And I saw him in the gym, and he's just like, "Hey man, how you doing? Like, are you doing okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, no, I'm fine. Everything's good. Of course, everything's always fine." And then he just like he looked at me and he like grabbed me on the shoulder and he's like, "Hey man, no, like, how are you really?" And I literally, like, I'm not even joking. I literally like snapped something in my brain in that moment because I was like lying to myself about how I was. I wasn't even. I was like, "No, this weight loss is fine," and like my sleeping schedule is always weird, haha. But no, it clearly wasn't normal, and I was lying to myself about it. But when he was like, "How are you really?" I like it snapped something in my mind. I didn't talk to him about it, like, because I wasn't that close with him. I didn't feel like I could trust him in the same way as someone that I know for a while. But him just asking me like, "How are you really?" really opened up my eyes. I took a really good look in the mirror and I just looked at myself in the mirror and it's like, "Dude, you are not fine. You are not doing okay, and you need to do something about it. You can't keep spiraling down like this." It's just something that I think I recommend to everyone. You gotta. Whew, wow, this is ridiculous. Like, just show a genuine interest in someone. Really, like, that's basically what I'm getting at. Like, if you notice someone is going through something rough, you gotta really be sincere about something like this. Like he was, just like that guy in college, in the gym, he saw that something was wrong, and he showed a genuine interest. Like he noticed something was wrong, and because he asked, all he had to do was ask, and it got me thinking to myself that yes, something is wrong. And you can do the same for other people. If you notice someone's got an irregular life, style going on. Like, they're not usually like this. They're acting a little different, Maybe they're a little more quiet than they usually are, or maybe they're snapping out, lashing out in anger. You just gotta, I don't know, talk to them about it. Be like, what's going on? Like, what's really going on? I don't want I don't want the BS answer you give to everyone. I want you to tell me what's actually going on. That type of thing. If they don't talk to you, at least it'll get them thinking to themselves what's actually wrong. Because it's hard to see it in yourself. It really is. I'm going to be honest, it is. Because it happens progressively. Like, you don't wake up one day and you're just, oh, I'm depressed now. Blah, I'm depressed. I'm sad, I'm depressed. No, it happens over time. It's like a wave. It starts off high, like you start off like good, and then you just spiral down into nothing, into like a low point, and it just comes in waves, and eventually the waves get deeper, and finally you're just underwater, and you don't even know what's going on anymore, and you're just so in your own head, and you just need to talk to someone else with a different perspective, because it will change you completely. And this goes for anything that you're in your own head about. You got to talk to someone else and get a different perspective on it. I promise. It'll change everything. 100% will change everything. Whew. Yeah. And again, if you're someone who needs to talk to someone, if you're bad at talking, like I am definitely not good at communicating all the time. It's really hard to communicate. So if you're having trouble communicating, write it down. Find a different way to communicate it, because it'll change everything. If you think you're trapped, just find a way to communicate how you're feeling to someone, whether it's writing it, talking to a camera, kind of like this, I don't know, whatever you got to do. Just rant about it to yourself. If anything, just talk to yourself about it. Write it down, and just read it over again and again until you understand how you yourself are thinking. Can make like a big difference. I'm telling you guys. Like, I started writing down how I felt after finally being convinced about it. Like, I was like, journals are stupid. Writing down how you feel, that's so dumb. Like, what are you, a loser? I don't know, whatever you want to call it. But I finally tried it, and I was like, wow, this actually, it works. Because you write down how you feel at a certain mood with certain emotions, and then you can read it over later when you're more logical in your head. After you like take a nap or wake up in the morning, you can read over it again and be like, why was I thinking that at that time? Why? What emotions was I feeling at that time? It makes a big difference, I promise. It's going on way longer than I thought it was, and I'd never even thought about talking about any of this. What did I start on? I started on manipulation. Jeez. That was supposed to be the whole conversation, was just manipulation, but of course that always brings you back to relationships. And yeah, man, if you ever need help, man, just message me, hit me up, I'll talk to anyone, because I know what you guys I know what you're going through, man. It's rough. Life is hard. Life sucks, and you're gonna go through a lot of really crappy things, and you just gotta talk about it. You gotta work through it, and it gets easier. Maybe I'll let you know if I find out, but probably I don't know, maybe it doesn't. It gets easier when you're dead. Just don't kill yourself. It's lame. It's not the answer. Promise. It's definitely not the answer. I don't know, I read a lot of stories and stuff like that, and just online stories, so who knows if they're even true. But I was reading this one story of a guy who wanted to kill himself, and he actually jumped off a building. And first thing he thought when he jumped off the building is, I don't want to die. It's like, I wonder how many people that have killed themselves, after downing the pills and the alcohol, or jumping off the building, or, whatever that split second is after you pull the trigger, whatever that is, how many of them regretted it immediately? And how many of them didn't live to regret it for any longer, or to be thankful that it didn't work? How many? You don't want to be that guy. You don't want to be the guy that jumps off the building and then be like, I wish I didn't jump. I don't want to die. You don't want that to happen. Whew. Yeah. Oh, guys, honestly, I think that's enough. I think I've ranted on this long enough. I need to I need to go to sleep or something. This is brutal. I honestly did not think I was going to talk about this or honestly even get remotely anywhere close. So, yeah, I don't know. Reach out for help, guys. Reach out for help wherever it has to be.